Mitch Jelniker, Bertha Lynn, and 24/7 weather with Lisa Hidalgo. 10 minutes of nonstop news starts now.
Well, it seems as though we're getting busier and busier all the time at work, doesn't it?
The truth. Well, after the break, we'll share some tips on how to get stimulated and get into high gear. All right, your job is challenging already, but now you have those hundreds and hundreds of emails you get like every day that the phone starts ringing off the hook. And more responsibility, of course, from your boss.
So what do you do when you're so overwhelmed that your creativity kind of shuts down and you want to cry? Well, you want to get stimulated, and we are joined by the authors of this book, Stimulated. This is Andrew Peck and also Janine McGlade. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
So how can people stay creative? Because that's what anybody wants, right? Basically, down to the core, they want to give and be creative and do something unusual. How can they do that when they're overwhelmed?
Well, that's true. I mean, people are kind of stuck in the rut and they get kind of bored. One of the best things to do is just shake up the routine. You know, we get kind of into an unconscious routine, almost zombie-like state. So one of the first things you want to do is start to change the routine. Maybe go to work a different way, maybe listen to some different music, pick up a new magazine that you've never seen before, just to shake it up and get you thinking differently.
So what are some of the best ways maybe to manage all those things? Because you're time. How do you get a hold of all that?
Well, I think the first thing is, look at your priorities. I mean, a lot of times we talk about time management, but really it's more about energy management. How do you manage your energy around those things? So look at your priorities, engage the help of others, enlist people, enroll people to help you so that you're not feeling so overwhelmed.
Because sometimes people feel bad about getting a topic, something, and then they set it aside.
Absolutely.
But sometimes you need to.
Right.
To focus on the priorities.
That's a great point. Sometimes you need to put it away, focus on something else so that your mind is fresh, and then you can come back to it later.
So do you have any suggestions for finding inspiration? Sometimes people just get burned out.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the best things to do is maybe go to a cafe, maybe go to a park. I mean, most of the times when you go out in nature, get some fresh air, it'll just change your perspective. Even that alone can get you thinking more creatively.
And of course, these days, everybody seems to be doing more with less. Companies are downsizing. There are fewer people, so people really feel overwhelmed. How do you stay creative in that atmosphere? Or how do you not lose customers in that atmosphere?
Well, that's probably one of the most important times then to do some of what we talk about in the book, which is to really get out and about, shake up your routine, change the space and place that you even work in just so that you can feel stimulated and you can feel more passionate, because there is a lot more pressure. So even now, even it might seem counterintuitive, it's the most important time to do it because we're so overwhelmed.
Well, Mitch brings up customers. Where do customers fit into this scheme?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
I mean, customers are really obviously the whole reason why we're doing this from an organizational standpoint. And it's very important that we keep in mind that that's the end goal.
Yeah, it's really to produce some value. I mean, the reason why we're creative is not for crazy-tivity, but is to produce something that is of value to our customers that they can appreciate and value. Creativity is not a luxury these days. It's a survival skill.
Now, you work with different clients. Can you give us examples of this creativity and how it benefits customers?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the great examples that we like to talk about is the Listerine Pocket Packs. There was an old brand Listerine mouthwash that for a long time was successful but was starting to decline in sales. So they looked for different ways to produce mouthwash but in a different form, and they put it into a film strip. So a lot of good creative ideas that help customers be successful.
And what we like to say is if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. So why does Listerine have to be in a liquid form, for example? And that's why they started to look at it differently. Well, maybe it can be portable. Maybe it can be in a different form, and that created a whole new innovation.
Just that thinking outside the box.
Yeah, exactly.
Amongst the many things you have in here, you talk about 3 things to do if you're facing a deadline, because that's when you're working against the clock, that's what stresses people out.
Right, exactly. And one of the first things to do is to take a deep breath. when our moms used to tell us that, maybe we didn't believe in them, but yes, slow down, exactly, and really pause. And again, it goes back to managing energy and not the time. We all have the same number of hours in the day. We all have the same number of minutes in those hours, so we need to first manage our energy, and sometimes, like you said before, put the task aside and then go back to it and look at what's a priority. Maybe enlisting the help of others as well, like I think we mentioned before too, because sometimes alone it feels more overwhelming than if I can say, hey, can you guys help me brainstorm a little bit? Maybe you've faced a similar problem, and then you can help me with mine.
A lot of pressure on managers and bosses because people look to them to be creative.
Oh, yeah. In fact, lots of times a manager might kind of take the wind out of your sails. We have a thing that we call killer phrases, where sometimes people are very negative when we're starting to generate new ideas. People say, oh, we've tried that before, that'll never work. And that's the worst thing to do. You want to encourage people to take risks, open up with their ideas, because everybody has a creative thought at one time or another, so encourage it.
Yeah.
Wonderful
advice. It turns into a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those do. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much, Andrew Pek, and also Pek and McGlade. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
And go ahead.
Well, the book is, let's do it together. That's thinking outside the box. It's called Stimulated, and you can meet the authors today at Barnes & Noble in Westminster and tomorrow at Borders in Inglewood. Do you know the times of those signings?
7 p.m. tonight and 2 p.m. in the afternoon tomorrow.
And 2 p.m. tomorrow.
7 p.m. tonight
Good.
at Barnes & Noble, 2 p.m. tomorrow at Borders.
Be
Thanks
there
so
to
much.
Hey,
share the book with you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
You bet, get stimulated.
Oh, yeah. We are.